I'm retired General Wes Clark, and I just want to say how lucky we were to be able to work with Bob Frowick 30 years ago at Dayton. He came in for OSCE. He was there to help us plan and run the elections. He knew what he was doing. He was strong. He was imperturbable. When all around us was chaos and people saying this and saying that, Bob was there just as steady, as solid as a rock, and helping get us through this difficult period. I really liked him. I'm really sorry that we've lost him. And I just want to say to all of his family and friends, he was a great diplomat and a tremendous asset to work with in Bosnia during that period. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to give a little testimony. Love Bob Frowick. Thank you.
From the outset of his mission, I was an active duty U.S. Army soldier deployed with the NATO Implementation Force, I-4, and helped Bob stand up the mission. And I'm here to tell you today, as someone who continues to work in and on the Balkans, that Bob Frowick's legacy lives on. He single-handedly created the democratization mandate for OSCE. Go ahead and look in the Dayton Agreement, and you will not find that as one of the assigned tasks. Yet Bob understood intuitively from his own experiences as a diplomat how crucial it would be for one international organization, OSCE, to take on the role of advancing Bosnia's democracy. And that legacy continues not just in today's mission, OSCE mission, which lives on in Bosnia-Herzegovina, but in neighboring missions, including the mission in Kosovo, which I co-led, and I can attest personally about that role, that inherited role for OSCE to be a leader in democratization that started from Ambassador Robert H. Frowick. And that's why celebrating Bob Frowick's legacy at Dayton regularly, and especially on this 30th anniversary, is so important.
After 3 weeks of intensive negotiations here in Dayton, the leaders of Bosnia, Herzegovina, Croatia, and Serbia have agreed to end the war in the former Yugoslavia.
There are no winners, and there could be no winners. All are losers. Only peace is a victory.
Today is a historic day for Bosnia and for the rest of the world. For Bosnia, because the war, we hope, will be replaced by peace. And for the rest of the world, because the suffering of Bosnia and everything that followed it has been a moral question of the first rate. And moral questions concern every man and every woman in the world.
The dramatic character of these negotiations, in which the solution has been reached when everyone thought that the negotiation had failed, also symbolizes all the complexity and difficulty of this crisis, certainly the major crisis to affect Europe after World War II.
But ahead lies an equally daunting task: implementation. On every page of the many complicated documents and annexes initialed here today lie challenges to both sides to set aside their enmities, their differences.
According to the peace agreement, we have 3 principal tasks. 1, to take a leading role in helping organize the elections. Secondly, to work alongside others in connection with human rights questions and the building up of democratic institutions. And thirdly, we will be involved heavily in immediate work on confidence and security building measures, and also before long work on measures related to the conventional forces in Europe regime.
One of Ambassador Robert Frowick's responsibilities as the OSCE head of mission was to serve as the chairman of the Provisional Election Commission, composed of both national and international members. In this post, Ambassador Frowick was the final authority for decisions related to the administration of the election. There were two such decisions that he took, one which was crucial to maintaining integrity in the electoral process, and a second to avoid an untenable administrative consequence of the voter registration options put forward in the Dayton Accords. The first decision involved whether an indicted war criminal should be permitted to lead a political party and serve as a candidate contesting in the election. This was the case with the Serb Democratic Party, or SDS, the leading ethnic Serb party, with Radovan Karadzic, who had been indicted by the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. The question was whether the SDS should be disqualified if Karadzic remained its leader. Ambassador Frowick took the position that the SDS would be disqualified if it remained the case. As a result, Karadzic resigned and the SDS was permitted to contest in the election. I believe that this was a significant decision that impacted the integrity of the election because how could the voting foster movement from conflict to peace if the worst perpetrators in the conflict were leaders in the election?
Today, the peace process in Bosnia and Herzegovina has taken a potentially major step forward. As head of the OSCE Mission and chairman of the Provisional Election Commission, I congratulate all concerned who have contributed to the negotiation of the statement confirming Dr. Karadzic's relinquishing of the office of president of the SDS and his withdrawal immediately and permanently from all political activities, including participation in any way in the elections. As I have emphasized from the beginning, the OSCE mission has sought to ensure integrity in the electoral process under the unprecedentedly complex circumstances involved in these elections. We have wanted all the governmental parties, that is, Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Republika Srpska, and the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina fully engaged. And we have wanted all the political parties, including the Serb Democratic Union, or SDS, appropriately participating in the campaign. I have repeatedly suggested in Pali that the best way to resolve the situation that we faced heretofore in the SDS was for Dr. Karadzic himself to resign from the SDS for the sake of his own people. I welcome the fact that this has occurred and the way ahead has been significantly improved.
Bob faced enormous pressure and criticism and even threats over that stance, yet he stood firm. Bob Frowick stood firm and he prevailed. And I can tell you that precedent where Bob Frowick demonstrated to Bosnians and to colleagues in the international community that the principled stance and will of the international community could prevail, that has legacy until today. Just last month, October 2025, another bitterly divisive figure in Republika Srpska, Milorad Dodik, was finally forced to accept the rulings of Bosnia's courts and forced to step down. That would not have happened without international pressure from the High Representative, and that pressure would not have happened without the initial actions, courageous as they were, by Ambassador Robert H. Frowick.
The second decision concerned the postponement of municipal elections. The Dayton Accords called for elections to be conducted nationally by entity and other subnational offices and by municipality.
Due to continuing political problems in municipalities across Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Provisional Election Commission unanimously decided today to postpone the exceptionally complex municipal elections that had been scheduled to take place on 23-24 November.
To offer enfranchisement opportunities to displaced persons and there were many after the war, the Dayton Accords gave these three options. First, the voter could choose to vote from their current location, whether displaced or not. Second, if displaced, the voter could choose to vote for the municipality from which they were displaced. And third, the voter could choose a future intended residence from which to cast a ballot. As voter registration proceeded, there were discernible patterns of registration spikes in certain municipalities, particularly those which were close to the inter-entity boundary line. From the patterns and other evaluations, it was determined that groups were using the future intended residence option to strategically register in certain municipalities to capture their governance. But to get there, the election had to take place, and the evaluations were made about the impact of these registration patterns on election day operations, which could have resulted in disruptions at polling stations. Avoiding this consequence for what Ambassador Frowick has termed the, quote, most complicated elections in history, end quote, he decided to postpone the municipal elections until a later, unspecified date and move forward with the other national and subnational elections which were scheduled. After the OSCE devoted considerable time to examine and adjudicate the future intended residence applications, municipal elections were conducted on September 14th and 15th of 1997. These two critical decisions by Ambassador Frowick supported integrity in electoral participation at a critical time and addressed registration anomalies which required investigation and avoided a source of possible disruptions at polling stations.
It seemed to me that maybe the bottom line in these elections is that they have provided the principal mechanism for helping to overcome the centrifugal political forces that were unleashed during the war and continued with the political struggle up until this election campaign. And we now have at least some possibility of putting things back together again with a legislative assembly bringing together the people from all parts of the country and a collective presidency. And I think that that was more than worth the effort. We hope that the elections will help us move the peace process forward, to recapture things like the Olympic spirit and the greatness of Sarajevo. These elections are the pivotal event in the peace process. They are the principal means for bringing the people of the country back together again.